The Las Vegas Raiders are pulling out all the stops with some intriguing moves aimed at turning them into serious Super Bowl contenders. But here's the big question. Are these changes paving the way for a playoff run? Or are fans bracing for yet another heartbreak? Let's dive in and break it all down. What's up, buddies? Welcome back. If you are new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We cover all AFC West news here on this channel. First up, the Raiders have made a splash by signing linebacker Christian Ellis, who was a restricted free agent with the New England Patriots. According to Tom Pelissero, the Raiders offered him a deal, likely around $4 or $5 million, and the Patriots, who tagged him with the right of first refusal at $3.25 million, have until Monday to match it. If they do, Ellis stays in New England, but here's the thing. They've already signed 3 other linebackers this offseason, spent big money, so it looks like they might let him go. At 26 years old, Ellis had just had a breakout season under Jared Mayo with over 80 tackles, an interception, forced fumbles, sacks, and multiple pass breakups. He bounced around from the Vikings to the Eagles to the 49ers before landing with the Patriots, where he showed he's smart, instinctive, and a playmaker, especially in pass coverage. Coming out of Idaho as an undrafted free agent, it took him a while to catch on, but now he's a low-risk, high-upside pickup for the Raiders, and he could very well be their starting linebacker in 2025. Think Robert Spillane vibes? Pair him with the right coach like Patrick Graham, and he might just take off. Next, the Raiders re-signed defensive tackle Zach Carter, a 2022 third-round pick out of Florida. This guy's 6 feet 4 inches, 320 pounds, and still young, only in his 3rd NFL year. The Bengals cut him mid-season last year, and the Raiders grabbed him off waivers. He didn't play much, under 300 snaps, but he held his own as a run defender. The staff, including Patrick Graham and maybe Rob Leonard, liked his tape enough to bring him back instead of letting him hit free agency. He's not as exciting as Ellis, but he's another low-risk, high-upside move. He's got the frame and potential to grow, especially against the run, though his pass-rushing skills are still a work in progress. Expect him to be a rotational piece, maybe 400 snaps this season, adding depth to a line that needs it. It's a smart, safe play, keeping a guy who already knows the system. On the flip side, the Raiders lost center Andre James, who signed with the Los Angeles Chargers. James spent 5 or 6 years with the team, originally a tackle from UCLA, before Tom Cable turned him into a center. He sat behind Rodney Hudson for 2 seasons, then took over as a starter in 2021. For 3 or 4 years, he was solid, but his play dropped off the last 2 seasons, especially this past one when Jackson Powers Johnson stepped in. Some fans have trashed him online, but that's unfair. He put in the work every day and wanted to win. He's a good dude who got a fresh start with the Chargers, who now have 2 centers at his level. It'll be interesting to see if he can bounce back to his earlier form, though it stings a bit that he's with a division rival, even if it's just the Chargers. The Raiders have also restructured defensive tackle Christian Wilkins' contract. Wilkins, one of the team's best and highest paid players, averages $27.5 million a year and was set to count $27 million against the cap this season. The Raiders prorated his roster bonus, creating a void year in 2028 with a $9.9 million dead cap hit when he won't be on the roster. At 30 years old, Wilkins has 3 years left on his 4-year deal through 2027 and will be 33 when he hits free agency. This is a smart move by GM John Spytek, freeing up about $9 million in cap space for 2025. Unlike void years for guys like Jimmy Garoppolo or Devontae Adams, who didn't finish their deals, this makes sense for a core player like Wilkins. Right now, the Raiders have $50.5 million in cap space, and with the Wilkins restructure, that jumps to $59 million. Factor in Geno Smith's $31 million already accounted for, and they're still sitting pretty. After spending $15 million on the draft and $10 million to fill out the roster, they'd have over $30 million left, enough for 2 or 3 impact players. Are they eyeing a trade, an extension, or a free agent like a guard or wide receiver? That's the big question. Speaking of free agency, one target is off the board now. Guard Tevin Jenkins signed with the Cleveland Browns, per Jordan Schultz. Jenkins, a former Bear, started 38 games over 4 years but has battled injuries. When healthy, he's a top 5 guard, and the Browns are betting on that upside. It's a bummer for the Raiders. He would have been a perfect fit to shore up the offensive line. But with $59 million in cap space, they've still got options. They're not going to blow it all in free agency. That's not smart. But they might extend guys like Colton Miller or Malcolm Kuntze. Kuntze on a 1-year deal could earn a longer contract if he starts hot, say 8 sacks in the first 6 weeks. Dylan Parham and Jack Jones are also due soon, and while they won't command top-tier money, locking them in during the season could be a play. Free agents like guard Dalton Risner, who's got top 10 potential, or wide receivers Amari Cooper and Keenan Allen are still out there. 2 weeks into free agency, these guys won't break the bank, maybe $7 to $12 million each on short-term deals. Cooper's coming off a down year with the Bills, but had 1,200 yards the season before, and Allen's a proven vet. With Geno Smith likely getting a 2-year extension soon, maybe in days, the Raiders need to capitalize on his 3 to 4-year window and bolster the roster now. So, with plenty of cap space, let's see how the Raiders make their next move in free agency. But speaking of juicy NFL draft, both Mel Kiper from ESPN and Daniel Jeremiah from NFL.com have the Raiders picking Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty at number 6. Overall, in their latest mocks, Kiper ranks Jeanty as his 4th best player, calling him elusive, fast, physical, and a visionary runner. 2,600 yards, 29 touchdowns last season, plus 66 catches over 2 years. Jeremiah has him as a top 3 talent. The Raiders' run game was awful last year, dead last with 3.6 yards per carry and 79.8 yards per game. So Jeanty could change everything, pairing with Geno Smith, Raheem Mostert, and Brock Bowers to form a legit offensive core. This guy's a weapon. Think Saquon Barkley or Bijan Robinson tier. His tape is unreal, top yards per rush, broken tackles, and forced misses among running backs with 100-plus carries. He dominated at Boise State, even against stacked boxes and tough teams like Oregon. But here's the hesitation. He's still a running back. They need a strong offensive line and scheme to shine, and the Raiders line is a mixed bag. Great left tackle and center, but the guards and right tackle are shaky. Look at Saquon, 4.5 yards per carry with the Giants, nearly 6 with the Eagles' better line. The Raiders are closer to the Giants' level right now. Plus, running backs don't last as long, 5 to 7 years tops, while a tackle or receiver could give you 12 to 15. You could grab a solid back like Caleb Johnson or RJ Harvey later in the draft, and still help Smith without burning a top pick. Jeanty's a stud, no doubt. Maybe the best non-quarterback after Travis Hunter, but positional value makes you think twice. If the offensive line clicks and the Raiders take him, he could be a home run. If not, it's a risk. Either way, it's wild to see him mocked to Vegas. It's a bold move for a team desperate for a run game. Finally, let's talk Tyrie Wilson, the 7th overall pick from 2 years ago, because this is his make-or-break season. A Twitter post called him not as bad as we think or as good as we hope, and that sums it up. The Raiders took him over studs like Jalen Carter and Darnell Wright, and so far, he's underwhelmed. But there's hope. After watching his last 3 to 4 games, he showed flashes. Disruptive plays, good movement, and pressure against the Saints. He's a power-based guy, not a quick-twitch rusher like Max Crosby, but more like Trayvon Walker, who broke out in year 3 with the Jaguars. Walker's a monster now, collapsing pockets and winning legit sacks, and Wilson could follow that path. His rookie year was a wash, no offseason or training camp, and year 2 was his first real taste of the process. This offseason, fully healthy, he knows what to expect. Down blocks, guard overtakes, the whole deal. He needs to finish plays better, especially in the run game, but the tools are there. With Malcolm Kuntz coming off an injury and likely eased back, Wilson's got a shot to start early. Rob Leonard's a phenomenal coach, so no excuses. Is he a bust? Based on 2 years, yeah, but development's real. Look at Dexter Lawrence, middling early, then elite by year 3. Wilson could be next. This season is the real test for him. So the Raiders are trying hard to make things happen in their favor. Although they've missed some good targets, but still, they are in a better position compared to the couple of previous seasons. Now, they have a proven coaching team and a quarterback, so all eyes should be on the upcoming draft. It's time to acquire some real talent and train them according to their own system and make a big difference. One thing that also needs to be considered is that the head coach will not be with them for a long time, maybe the next 2, 3, or 4 years. So if they see favorable results in the next season, they should also try to prolong this as much as they can. So what's your thought on Raiders' efforts? Share with me in the comment section.